You know, I have the privilege of serving on both the Armed Services Committee as well as the House Depot Caucus. Our U.S. military has its own defense, repair, and sustainment capabilities precisely because the government needs to guarantee that soldiers in the field will be sustained and supported in times of war. They will guarantee that needed equipment will be there in working order when and where it is needed, because their lives and our freedom depends on it. That's why I object to the current furlough policy of some of our DoD civilian workers. I have great sympathy for the Department of Defense. Unlike every other budget of the federal government, they did not receive an increase of appropriations before sequestration. In fact, the military is the only area where during this administration they received 2 cuts in their funding before sequestration hit, which was the 3rd cut. Our defense has been hit disproportionately because of sequestration. The Department of Defense's approach is to have everyone sharing in the burden or the pain of it. That is actually a political decision, and I don't use that in a pejorative sense. But Congress has understood the work of our sustainment sector for decades, passing Title Sections 129 and 2472, which deal with working capital funds. And we have 5 such working capital funds. These are revolving funds that are self-sustaining, which means, by law, if you have a workload and you have the funds, then these employees should not be thrown under the bus with a furlough. It is silly to think that the workload would be there. The funds are actually there, but the workload will be sitting in depots, and the technicians and mechanics working on those will be forced to take off days without pay. It will increase our delay. It will increase our cost. The furlough working fund that funds employees does not save the government any kind of money, but it hurts delays. Gentlemen from Oklahoma will have an amendment which I hope the House takes seriously, which will look at these working capital funds and realize the unique situation they have within our system, and will hopefully solve this problem going forward in the future. It has been said that we have a foreign policy for which we will fund. Actually, the book I read said the foreign policy for which we will pay for. I just didn't want to end in a preposition. Our foreign policy is funded here in the Defense Department appropriations. This is what gives us the flexibility diplomatically to do things not now, but 5 years from now, and 10 years from now, and 15 years from now. We are truly looking at our future with this particular fund, and it must be taken seriously. We are living, since the Cold War ended, in a much less secure world than we were while we were in the Cold War. Not just because what is being done by our traditional adversaries in Russia and China, but in the rim country, third world countries, which have used new technology to create what is called technological claustrophobia, as their efforts are now compressed together, and we are having to respond to that. There are many issues in this particular bill which help us move forward, not only in defense of our military, but in our foreign policy opportunities. There are a few amendments out there that do harm to that, and I hope we look at it very carefully. It is a well-crafted rule.